Hello and welcome to.
Hey, we like your pod.
And we're going to tell you why. Hi, it's Dawn here, and I'm joined, as always, by my trusted partner, Matt Pickett. How you doing, Maddie? Good to see
I'm
you.
good. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. Just groovy.
Just groovy. I tell you what, it's been a week in the Pickett household. The stomach flu ripped through all of us, kind of daisy chaining. So I was like, one of the kids had it, and then as they're getting down off of it, then my other kid picked it up, and then I picked it up, and then my wife picked it up. So it's just like rolling through. So we are past it now. I am happy to report I'm feeling much better. Wow. But boy, what a disgusting week we've had here.
Wow. So all that happened since the last time I saw you on.
Yeah, fortunately it was like, because it was like a 24-hour kind of stomach bug where it was like really intense for 24 hours, and then kind of like, and you're okay after that, but like your bowels aren't, not to get too gross here, of course. This is not a medical documentary. So just to say that I was like 24 hours like really bad, and then 24 hours of like I can function, but it's not great. So I missed a day of work basically.
Sure.
But at this time of the year, who doesn't want a day of just like sleeping? It was kind of great.
Yeah, this time of year is when we catch things too, which
a lot of stuff,
like a lot.
Yeah,
people traveling and all that, getting all kinds of books. Yeah.
And like, you know, working in a university campus, like it's like going to a petri dish for my job. So yeah, there's always a lot of stuff going around, but it is, as they say, what it is. How about you, Don? What's been going on in your week?
Oh, I just have been finishing up some projects around the apartment. I keep thinking I'm on the last day. Like I painted, I did these things and just kind of decorating things. And then it's like, oh, I have one more day to do this. I keep thinking I'm on my last day, but I think I really was on my last day today. So can take all the supplies down to the storage unit, and I have paint on my arm. See, I just saw that. I missed a spot. Anywho, yeah, all good. Everything's good. I was trying to catch a little bit of the first half of this game. I thought it'd be fun. I do like watching football when there's weather, though. I mean, I'm just loving to see the rain. None of that rain's going to make it this far down south, unfortunately.
We were just saying before we went live, like what an exciting game we have going on Thursday night here. We have the Rams versus the 49ers in a nobody can score any points kind of, affair, 3-3 at halftime. Oh my God. What is going on with that game? It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm hoping the second half will be more fun. And hello to Iowa Joe and True North. Packers fan. Okay, are we worried about the UFO drones in New Jersey? Not particularly. Are you? Have you heard of those, Matt?
I don't know what he's talking about today. I've always assumed True North Packers fan is a male. Might be. I don't know. Those things. But no, actually, I'm not sure. True North, what are you talking about?
Tell us about it. I know True North mentioned that the monkeys were heading my way. There were some monkeys that got loose. That was a few weeks ago.
A few weeks back, about a month or so. Yeah.
Never saw one single monkey, unfortunately.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. So Joe mentions in the comments that for the Packers to clinch a playoff spot this week, one of the scenarios includes the Rams 49ers tying, and right now they're tied. So
that
they keep it tied for 3 more quarters, right? And overtime.
Plus overtime. Yeah. That's a good point. That could happen. Like, tied at 3.
Some ridiculous Raiders beating someone at all.
I know. Well, no, it's just the Falcons. So that's not ridiculous.
Oh, because the Falcons are going to lose, right? And they're not great.
They're not great.
Kind of vulnerable. So.
I mean, they're not great in general.
Maybe things are falling place, Dawn. Maybe.
That would be great. That would be funny. I wouldn't be mad. I definitely wouldn't be mad. So we're going to make tonight's podcast a little bit shorter than usual, right, Maddie?
Yeah. Get right on to it. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. So we're going to just let's do our little transition over to.
Yeah, that's right.
It's time for this week's superlatives. And there we go.
I love that so much.
I always thought, why don't we have a little transition? So now we do. Okay, Maddie, I have some superlatives and you have some. So let's I have kind of two, but one has like a lot to it.
Okay.
So I'll start with my really quick one.
There you go. There it is.
Okay. This is fun. It's most balanced. It goes to Ken Lass. Do you know Ken Lass?
Yeah, he writes for Cheesehead, doesn't he?
Right. In his segment, The Last Word, which is a joke.
That's what it is. I think what's the catchphrase for it? That's what it is.
So I really enjoyed his piece, Playing It Safe. Should LaFleur take more risks? Because that's all the talk about Campbell and going for it on the fourth and all that stuff. And I liked the way that Ken laid everything out, and it helped me feel smarter about football, which is what we like to do. And also in this case, kind of like what I thought too. You don't just go for the go on the fourth down unless you're confident that you're going to get there, right? So it has a lot to do with your team's performance, what's going on the field that day, that moment, whatnot. And so for people that might think that Matt LaFleur is a little too conservative, I would venture to say he knows more about the team than we do. And we don't necessarily just want to go for the fourth down for the sake of going for the fourth down, because that's what Brandon Staley did. And he got fired for doing that in LA. So I thought that was a worthwhile read from Cheesehead TV blog, The Last Word. So check it out. And I don't remember reading any of his articles before.
Oh yeah, I think every week I think he's got a thing in there.
I don't know what's wrong with me lately. I think I'm just losing my memory.
We're getting old, Don. So
everything's new again. Everything's new again. Okay, so what do you have, Maddie? Let's hear your first one.
That was a perfect first one, Don, because my first one is a counterpoint, but also a counterpoint to that, because I don't know if you saw this. This was amazing. This was a very thoroughly written article by our friend Tex Western, who we just met a couple weeks ago on this show. What an awesome dude he was. Yes. And Tex wrote this piece for Acme Packing Company called The Curious Case of Matt LaFleur's Aversion to Fourth Downs in 2024, because he went into like all the analytical research and then did like fourth down by fourth down, like the ones that he didn't go for, like just like ran them down, like talked about each of them. And I shouldn't say each and every one of them, because he's looking at the ones that by a certain like metric that Ben Baldwin had developed on his website to evaluate like when coaches actually should go, because there'll be like a positive chance of it adjusts their sorry, what are the words here? Average percentage win chance, their APW, I think is what the thing is, the abbreviation. So it's like there's an analytics thing to say, like, you should, based on the analytics, go for it on fourth here. And so for the ones where Matt LaFleur didn't, but he kind of should have, based on like that metric, there were 9 specific instances. So then Tex broke them down and said, well, is this one where like it actually made any sense situationally? And a lot of them it didn't actually. But the reason why he kind of got into this is because by that same metric, over the last several seasons, Matt LaFleur was kind of like one of the most aggressive coaches in that, whereas like this season he's actually like the least aggressive. So like it's been this really crazy about face for like where LaFleur has fallen on this sort of like spectrum of how aggressive coaches are on fourth down. But the fascinating thing is, like, whenever we look at football statistics, and man, we are just like bombarded with statistics, at all times, if you're at all like involved with, following content creators and amazing work that people do. But the thing is, we have to always remember this. So much of the football season is a very small sample size. So when you try to extrapolate things out too far, you might find you're making a judgment about something based on like 9 data points, which is like an extremely small sample size. So it's like when you start to dig into it, tease it out, look at each of those ones, it's like, well, it's not quite as clear. So like it starts off with like, hey, Matt LaFleur's a lot less aggressive on fourth down. I'm getting so like caught up in this, I lose my breath. So he's a lot less aggressive on fourth down. What's going on with that? But it's like, well, actually, there haven't been a lot of situations where he should have. And in fact, of those 9 that I mentioned, 6 of them I think were against the Lions. Extremely hyper situational to this one team. But then
Interesting.
counterpoint was that, you're playing against Dan Campbell, who is hyper aggressive. Maybe that's the time to actually dial it up and not like kind of get more passive about it. Maybe that's
Mm,
like really bring it on, because you got to kind of
mhm,
match the guy blow for blow. In a lot of ways in the field, they did.
mhm.
But there were potentially some missed opportunities in both of those Lions games where, LaFleur could have been a little more aggressive. So if you haven't seen this article, it's thorough. There are graphs, there's information, there is analysis. I think it's the best piece of analysis I've read about football this season. I think it is. I think I can say,
Wow,
like, it was that good. Like
that's
it
great.
blew my mind. It was so good. So
Ooh, I can't wait to dig
huge.
into that.
Yeah, well, it's so
Yeah.
good. So huge shout out to Tex for putting that all together. It was a fascinating read. And it's one of those things where it's like, you could throw together a bunch of like statistics and stuff, and it could be like, just dry as a desert wind, if you will, but he makes it interesting. He writes about it in a way that's easy to comprehend, like all our favorite content creators do when they're like trying to teach us stuff.
Mhm.
So very, very, very fun read, very fascinating, very digestible, just maybe even one of the best things I've read this season. Maybe even that good. So
That's
yeah,
amazing. Oh,
you can see I'm
wow.
very excited about it. This is how
That's
much
a
I loved it. So
yeah, that's a lot coming from you
there you
because you do take in a lot. We both take in a lot of
go. Mhm.
content, and that's why we're here. So you don't have to. We can tell you where to go, but that's a lot because we do take in a lot of really good content,
Mhm.
and that's what we talk about. So right on, Tex.
Yeah,
I,
text. Awesome
I have a
job,
hard
dude.
time calling him that. I just have a hard time calling him
Right on
that.
text.
All right, and he's on Acme.
AcmePackingCompany.com.
Okay, okay, thank you. Just to remind our audience.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna be a little snarky.
Awesome.
And so this is like a three-parter. So this is what I have. It's fraternizing with the enemy,
Love these.
biggest jerk.
Ooh.
And that goes to Seahawks quarterback Geno Smith. Now I pulled up a little bit of so some of this is a rerun from a year or two back.
Yeah, I was gonna say you talked about it one time. Yeah.
But I'm gonna replay some of that, and there's more that has happened since then. So evidently, Geno is who Geno is. He hasn't changed one bit since getting kicked off the Jets and doing his teammate a real dirty and getting punched in the face over it. That was the last that both the players ended up getting leaving the Jets after that, but it was I'm not a violent person. I don't condone violence, but this guy really got under Geno's. Geno really was nasty to him. So
Mhm.
I'm not going to go over that too much. I'm just a quick review. The first one is just a review of an article from 2022 by Joe Rivera, and this was in Sporting News, the Sporting News, if you want to look it up. But basically, it talks about Geno's entire timelining. It's a pretty extensive article, not super long, but it puts it in context. In other words, his
Mhm.
jerkiness. And of course, that's not the title of his article. That's just me saying he's the biggest jerk. And so it talks about his career timeline, all the way back to being drafted. And then at one point in 2015, August 11, 2015, it's when the really big thing happened that I talked about last time. So he says, after a pair of middling seasons as a starter, the beginning of the end of the Smith era starts with a punch. And this was when they were on the Jets, that wonderful organization. Defensive lineman IK Enim Polly, terrible at pronouncing that, punches Smith square in the jaw, breaking it and sidelining Smith for 6 to 10 weeks. And that's when Ryan Fitzpatrick stepped up, and so Smith never returned. The altercation is believed to have happened over a $600 plane ticket for Smith to attend a football camp. But the thing is, this article doesn't go into the way Flemlow Raps really went into what really
Mhm.
happened. Gino, IK is a really seems like a really neat guy, and he does a lot for his community. And he put together this football camp for the high schoolers where he was from, and it was a big deal. And Gino volunteered, like said, "Hey, I'll come," and put himself out there. And so
Mhm.
IK told the kids, told the parents, Gino Smith was going to be there, and he does a no-show. And
Oh no.
IK, yeah, and really embarrassed IK just terribly, because can you imagine? He just put him into the worst position because they
Yeah.
pay to go to these. Yeah, I don't know if they pay for the football camp, but they were really excited about it. So when they got back and they were in the locker room, IK said, "Hey, can you reimburse me?" Because he bought his, got a hotel, bought his airfare, all of that for Geno
Mhm.
Smith, who could have afforded it, but he had him do that. Geno didn't say, "No, I'll pay for it," So
Mhm.
he did ask him for the $600 back for the plane ticket. I don't think he ever really offered an apology or an excuse for why he didn't show up. He was really jerky about it.
Mhm.
And then he started to Geno Smith started to say, "What are you going to do about it? I'm the quarterback of this team." That type of
No.
thing. Yeah, that type of thing. And he's like, he was just asking for the money back.
Mhm.
He's one of these gentle giant types. Not that he's never gotten in any trouble, but anyway, he just had it because he just had it. Punched him in
Mhm.
the face, and that was the story. So that was in 2015, and and also from Phlegm Low Wraps, you can get more on that, which I mentioned previously. But I noticed something else, and where did I put it? I lost it. I noticed something else, and it's not here. Well, okay, well, I can't find it. Okay, here we go. I closed it. Okay, I can't find the article, but what I did notice when I was looking into, is there any more about Gino,
Mhm.
that I want to update? Because I thought, oh, maybe he's made good, and where's IK now? Did they make up? Well, I came across an article from only 2022, so only 2 seasons ago. So he was the quarterback for the Seahawks at that point. He was arrested for drunken driving. But not only was he arrested, he was driving his car. He was driving his Rolls like 96 miles an hour, weaving in and out of traffic, driving recklessly,
Oh
gets
no.
by the police, and starts fighting with them. Yeah, arguing.
Mhm.
And at one point, it was like, and he refused to take a breathalyzer, so they had to bring him in for blood work. And then when he got them to the hospital to get a blood test for his alcohol content, he started fighting, literally fighting.
Oh no.
Put him in restraints, both feet and leg and arm restraints. Got the blood, and it was like, yeah, he's over the limit. Brought him in and booked him.
Mhm.
When that happened, when they were at the police station, he proceeds to continue to berate the officers, and the one particular officer, and he told him that he had a small unit
Unit. Special teams unit.
over
A small
over.
defense.
I mean, it was a personal attack. He was just
Mhm.
pitiful. And I don't remember hearing about this, because you know how you hear about every time a player does something wrong, it's all over the news, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember hearing about Geno Smith getting arrested for drunken driving. I don't know how the Seahawks kept that out of the and it would have been right before he was going to step in for uh Russ
Russell Wilson.
Russ Wilson.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's the quarterback that we're playing against this
Mhm.
Sunday. So I'm not going to feel real bad if anything, like if they lose or anything like that. There are a lot of players on, and I never feel bad if we beat players from other teams, even if I like them. But I'm going to especially not feel bad if we beat them this week for that reason. He's just a snotty person from
Mm.
all appearances.
That's what it sounds
Not
like.
nice. Yeah.
Oh, you hate to hear that kind of a thing, because it's like when Geno Smith got his kind of like, career resurgence, was it last year the first time of that, or was it the last 2
I
seasons?
think
Whatever it was,
two
you
years.
know, Yeah. It was like, oh, what a great story, how inspirational. But it's like, no, he's actually kind of a jerk, which is unfortunate. I'll say too, this is like tangentially related, Don. This week I heard about some dirt about one of the local players. I'll say, I won't say
Oh,
who, but about
okay.
some of his, I don't want to say womanizing exactly, it might not be the right word, but kind of like shady dealings with women. Um,
Ooh.
I'll just say it might make you want to be home alone and not with him, if you understand what I'm saying there.
Oh
Figure out who
my
I'm talking about.
goodness.
You wouldn't have to
That's
burrow
too
down very far to
bad.
figure out who I'm talking about. But let's just
Yes.
say there's been some dirt on some of the social media forums
Ooh.
of the west side of Cincinnati lately. Now it's all allegedly,
Ooh.
and I won't see who I'm talking
Sure.
about directly.
Sure. Sure.
But it's been like, you hear about stuff sometimes, you're like, oh man, yeah, it seems like they have this like squeaky clean public image, but sometimes it's just a persona. Yeah, watch out for that.
Yeah, true. Well, I think one of the reasons I looked into Geno Smith was because I saw him play when I think it was Russ Wilson's last season. So I was watching a game and he got thrown in. Russ was hurt and he really
Mhm,
looked good. And I was like, really, and I always root for
mhm,
people who are just, and he was playing, it was almost like he was a clone of Russ Wilson at that time when he was
mhm,
playing well.
mhm.
But then after that, it's like I just can't look at him the same after Flemlo
Sure.
did his piece, and then I looked
Yeah.
into it a little bit more. So most of these things, I mean, the things that I read from are not alleged; they're actually these things happened. They're
Yeah.
documented. And
No, my stuff was
yep,
alleged. Your stuff was like for
right,
real. Yeah.
yeah, for real, for real. So I just thought I'd throw that back out there since we're playing the Seahawks this week.
Interesting.
So we have
All
some
right. Well.
interesting comments in our chat right now. I'm not sure where to begin. Okay, so Maddie, what else do you have tonight?
Yeah. So did you have more? I have two more. Did you have any more?
That was like those three in one.
Cool.
So
That's what I thought. So I'll make sure.
that's
All right.
good.
So
Yeah.
so I have two more. My second one. Okay, this was a hard one actually, Don, because I started off being like, all right, I figured out who was the best podcast guest this week. I had one all lined up. I was going to say who it was. And then another really amazing podcast guest happened. And then another amazing podcast guest happened this week. There are three. I can't decide which one to go with. So it's going to be a three-way tie for this
Nice.
week's best podcast guest. So they are Jimmy Christensen, because he's starting to do it every Tuesday thing with Matt Ramage. And, if people have watched Matt Ramage, if you haven't watched Matt Ramage, what the heck? He's amazing and he's hilarious. But so with Jimmy in there too, they're really good. Like,
Oh, wow.
their banter is excellent. And, we've talked about Jimmy before. He's been on the show. We should get Matt Ramage on the show instantly, but we've talked about Jimmy.
Yes.
I'm a huge fan. He's so smart, and like, he doesn't really, he's so humble, but he's easily one of the it's funny, he's getting booed in the chat because that's kind of the thing. People bust Jimmy's chops constantly.
Oh, lady
And
Jimmy.
so he's so smart, he's so kind, he's so insightful. He has some of the best takes out there. He's just so underappreciated. So to see him in another
Yeah.
space, we get to like catch more of Jimmy on Ramage on
Yeah.
Tuesdays. Dude, that's
Cool.
awesome. So that's one. Then the second one is True North says, also Ramage's comment section is full of jerks. True North hangs out in the comment section there. I think Joe might too, actually. So the second one then was Zach Rappert with the Unpack podcast, was on Last Call Lambo. And this was his third time on there. And he's on because, the show like puns as part of the drinking game of the show. And his wit is so quick. His mind is so sharp. Even when he starts to even when he has some drinks in him, So he's a very funny guest to have on the show. So it was like a really fun listen. And then Dawn, freaking Mina Kimes was on Pack-A-Day with Andy. What the heck? This has just been a week of amazing guests. Just bananas. So how can you choose one of them? There were three exceptional ones. Just hats off to all three. Amazing stuff.
That's fantastic. You're cut out just a little bit, tiny bit on the second one's name. So just so everyone hears that second guest.
Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, my Wi-Fi's been weird lately.
Yeah.
The second guest I mentioned was Zach Rappert, who is on the Unpack podcast that I love so dearly.
Right. All right. Very good. Very good.
All right. And so I should go ahead with my last one then, right?
Yes. Let's hear it.
All right. My third and final superlative for this week is best optimism. So, we've been talking a lot, throughout the discourse, the online and the podcast discourse about what the Packers' problems are this season, what's going to like really doom them in the playoffs. And it's, the pass rush is one of the things we've definitely been talking a lot about. And so it's been like, how bad is it going to be? But our buddy Greg Meinholz wrote a really good article for cheeseheadtv.com that was called Packers Pass Rush Could Become an X Factor Down the Stretch. And you might be like, okay, Greg, sure. The thing is, he laid it out really well. It was good analysis. It was good kind of like, this could happen this way. And it was totally feasible. It was in a way that was like, I thought we just like doomed in that phase of the team, that part of the defense. But actually, I think Greg has some good points. And he's not like, this is going to happen, it's fixed. But he's like, this could happen this way. And it could be actually really good. It could be, like you said, an X factor. So really nice optimism, but like grounded, backed up with some actual tangible facts that you can kind of cling to and go with. And Greg's just a great writer just in the first place. So I'm also, and that's a quick read, a really good, concise, but like, meaty little read from Greg. So definitely worth checking out.
Well, and it's really timely because everyone's saying that's what we really need this week. Yeah. So I hope we see it. I hope he's right.
Oh, he's right. He could be.
I'm
Smart
excited.
Guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And we have a good team. So it's doable. I'm not too worried. Maybe I should be, but I'm not too worried about Sunday's game. I think we're okay against the Seahawks. And partly because I watch a fair amount of them on the West Coast.
Oh, sure.
Not a ton, but I see a lot of the different teams, and some of them you're going to be, it's hard pressed to beat, but I feel pretty good about our chances this week.
I think so too. I mean, with 3-point favorites, I guess it's 2.5-point favorites on the road, which is pretty good. And everyone's talking this week about how we haven't won there since 2006, but I feel like that's kind of one of those like irrelevant things. It's not like it's been the same team since 2006 on both sides of the ball. We haven't won this. It's like, no, this is a completely different team. It doesn't matter. So now I think this is our time to kind of like break that bad streak and take home a W. That's what I think.
Yeah. Did we play there last year? No.
No,
we don't play there every year, right?
Doesn't happen a lot. No,
right.
Last time we did play there,
those were Aaron Rodgers hang-ups. Yep. We're beyond that. That was an Aaron Rodgers,
especially that one really bad one. Let's not talk about it. So.
Yep.
The most traumatic.
Yeah. Well, let's just hope it's not a 2.5-point game, right? Let's have a nice, clean win.
A nice clean win.
I love that. Yeah, we had a couple really nice clean ones, and then we had a close, which of course with the Lions you would have expected. But
yeah,
I like the ones where we just aren't biting our nails the entire day. Yes. All right, Maddie. Well, any final thoughts before we bring her home?
Wash your hands, wash your butts, be healthy out there. Follow Devontae Adams' advice.
That's right.
Stay healthy, folks, because man, being sick, it's not the best.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
I can't get sick right now.
Yeah, don't do it. Would not recommend.
No, thank you very much. Okay, Maddie. Well, let's bring her home.
All right, on friends. We'd love to have the chance to interview you and shout you out if you're a subscriber and a football fan. If you'd like to nominate someone to be a guest on our podcast, please let us know. Our DMs are open on all the social platforms. And folks, when you subscribe to our podcast, you help us to keep spreading the love in our community. And the best way to help this podcast grow is by sharing it with your friends and family.
Yes, Maddie. That's right. Because we love you. We're so glad to know you, to be fans of you, and have the luxury of being fans of the most storied team in the NFL. We appreciate your support, your subscriptions, and sharing our pod, and we look forward to seeing you next week on
Hey, we like your pod.
Football in general comes down to discipline and people owning their roles. And when you aren't disciplined or you go outside the scheme, bad stuff happens.